Are the Republicans and Democrats, the two major parties, corrupt in the sense that they are truly bought and sold by corporate money?
I believe the party structure for both Democrats and Republicans is corrupt and morally bankrupt. They're not doing the work that we need. And up here, I mean, we're getting poorer, we're getting older because young people are leaving, we're getting sicker because now we're figuring out all the different ways in which poisons are leaching into our water systems. They're not solving problems. They're not solving problems.
If you're elected, you would be the first Green Party.
When I'm elected,
when you're elected,
yes.
You would be the first Green Party candidate who becomes a member of Congress.
Yep.
No independents in the House right now. There are 2 independents in the Senate. If you're the only independent, would you have to caucus with one of the major parties? And how would you be able to get to work on your agenda if you are the only independent voice there?
I love this question. So if I'm first of all, I don't think I'll be the only independent voice there. I think there's going to be enormous changes in this midterm election. It is not going to look like anything that it looks like now. I think only, and I'm a psychologist. I've done the work of bringing people for decades. I worked 14 years in criminal justice reform, doing that work of bringing people together to agree on a plan to transform justice systems. So I think that I'm perfectly situated and can help Republicans and Democrats save face by having the independent bring folks together. And I don't know that I identify more with one than the other. I really think there's an extraordinary amount of waste in government, like $1 trillion of waste. There was one study said 22% of all government programs have no results, no results. There's an enormous amount of waste. I've done the work of deregulating, going through just horrible, poorly written rules and legislation and guidelines to kind of translate them into plain language. I was on the reinventing government staff in the 1990s. We threw out the 10,000-page personnel manual because it was all gobbledygook and made no sense. So I understand all that, and I'm motivated by, I have had to put it all together, just justice, more fairness, more justice. And I think people do not feel fairly treated by government. So I think I'm in the perfect position to bring folks together. And I don't think I'll be the only independent voice.
The House did have an independent voice, independent representative from Vermont, who is now a senator.
Yep.
Bernie Sanders. Is he, many of the things he did as a representative, do you admire what he did in Washington, being that voice to go down there and say, I'm not going to be part of the major 2 parties, or was he too much aligned with the Democrats and only independent in name?
So I thought a lot of what he said was brilliant and did touch people's hearts and is kind of where we're going in some ways, certainly around universal health care. I think he was too aligned with the Democrats. I think that if he ran as an independent, he'd be president. One of the issues that I learned a lot about driving around the country and was astonished to discover is really true up here is the trauma visited on our families by family law, family court, and foster care. I think 80% of the kids that are taken out of homes and put into foster care should not be taken out of homes. They should be, those families need support. They're at-risk families often, and they need support. 670,000 kids a year are taken out of their family units and put into foster care with strangers. That's Democratic legislation. And there's no willingness to look at that. There's just no understanding about the consequences of those laws. So, say 670,000, that's 500,000 kids who shouldn't have been taken every year. We have millions and millions of kids who've been traumatized and their families by horrible government decisions. That's Democratic legislation. So, and they won't look at it because I've asked them about it.
And the need for foster care is even greater with the opioid crisis.
I agree. I mean, obviously, it's an opioid crisis, which is more people are dying from opioid overdoses than anything else. There's definitely a crisis. we don't always have to take the kids. And the big thing is, I get roused about this one, put them with other family members. That's the pain that I hear from grandparents, particularly who are trying to help their adult children who might be addicted. Give me my grandchild. Help me, support me as I try to raise this grandchild or grandchildren and help my addicted adult child. The money doesn't go, the law says the money doesn't go to family members when a child is taken. The money only starts going to the state when the child is put in foster care.
I think a lot of people would assume that it goes to grandparents and family members.
No, the saddest stories, here too, because it's here too, are from grandparents. The saddest stories are grandparents, grandmother, grandfather, who said they called child services to get help for their addicted adult child. And instead, social services took their grandchildren away and wouldn't let them into the house. New York is a little better than other states, many other states. So it's a little better here, but what I've learned is, first of all, there are all kinds of gag orders and threats not to talk about these issues for parents or grandparents whose kids have been taken. The same thing is true, I think, in terms of family court when custody decisions are driven by who's got the most money. It's horrific. It's horrific. It's horrific, and it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
And how do you address it?
Well, I have a plan. So I'm a strategic planner, and I would stop money going from the federal government. This $50 billion just goes to states to take kids away. I would not allow money for taking kids out of homes. There's opioid addiction prevention, mitigation, mediation, therapy. There is money to help addicted adults and parents. Put some money into that, but stop paying to take kids out of their family. And another is, I got a list, stop, so there's forced termination of parental rights. Stop terminating parental rights and adopting forced adoptions. The state will terminate parental rights, have that baby or child adopted by somebody else while the biological parent or grandparent is still fighting in court to regain custody. And they find out, I've talked to parents who found out their kids or grandchildren were adopted on the internet.
So before the court case was resolved.
Right, right. And it's about money going to states. It's heartbreaking.
We talked a little bit about party labels. You're running as a Green Party candidate, but you don't necessarily embrace everyeen green.
I don't. Well, in the environmental sense, I embrace everything green. But the Green Party means different things to different people. I chose, because I didn't have to, I chose to join the party and run as a Green because the values fit with my values, the values of ecological wisdom, of social justice, of building peace, fit with who I am. I'm kind of getting a little pushback because I want to save dairy farmers, and there's a lot of Greens that are vegan. So I'm the only candidate that's talking about that, talking about family law, talking about transforming the VA, talking about how important it is for states to be encouraged and supported to try universal health care options. If there's a couple things they don't agree with, the party's big enough. This is a three-way race. You have three wonderful, strong women running in District 21. It's going to be a great debate. I look forward to it. My experience will show, and I've got my lines of attack all sorted out for both candidates, so I'm looking forward to it.
It will be a challenge financially. You will be going up against the two major parties who will are very interested in a lot of races and probably will be funneling money to both of the candidates. You'll be up against candidates who have hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not a million or more.
Right, a couple million, I think.
And so how big of a challenge will that be? And is that an obstacle you can overcome?
It's a challenge. It's an obstacle I can overcome. I've been working behind the scenes, doing really major change work, and that's kind of how I'm doing this. You'd probably be surprised how many thousands of voters in District 21 I've talked to. And this kind of networks of the farmers, the dairy farmers know who I am and know what I stand for. I was endorsed by Veterans in Politics International, so there are veterans that know who I am. There are people who've been hurt by family court, know who I am. I've got the environmentalists, and there are some Republican environmentalists, and the Greens, and now the people have been so horribly hurt by the chemicals that are being saturated in our water and our food and our soil and everything that we touch. So, I think I'll surprise all of you.